to the Crab House with your hosts, Clarissa Dolphin,
Tara All. Hey. We're definitely already doing the crabby into the shell thing.
Yeah.
Well, they just gotten started.
How perfect. We're obvious Cancerians.
Yes. Yep. My birthday's July 20th.
I'm not revealing my birthday.
Oh. There might be some Scorpio in this one.
Maybe. Not revealing that either. It's all under the shell. Well, Tara, why are we even doing the Crab House?
For me, it's about getting real with all of our feelings. I think that in Cancer land, in our moonscapes, in my own little crabby self, that there are lots of things to explore and to feel and to share. And I want to be able to do that in a way that's just open to let it flow. So, not so scripted, not so planned. Some days we may feel crab happy. Some days we may be crab sad, crab angry. But the older I get, and I am turning 50 next month, the more I just want to be real. And I think that's one of the best things Cancer has going on for it as a sign, as an energy. And we all have Cancer somewhere, so we'll talk about that more in our charts. But at the heart, Cancer can be present for all the things. Yeah.
Agreed. And that's part of why I wanted to do the Crab House too. And I want to thank you all, you crab everything and non-crabs for getting underneath the shell, because I'm tired of hearing all the bullshit about Cancers, frankly. I would love to have a raw dialogue about what this expression of this zodiac sign actually is in reality. I would like to inspire authenticity and critical thinking, not just about, what it is to be Cancerian, but also, the craft and profession of astrology, the techniques that we use as professionals. Tara and I have both been professional astrologers for over a decade. And although we do have, different branches of astrology, I'm a harmonic astrologer primarily. She's an evolutionary astrologer. I also believe in co-collaboration in our fields and just learning from each other. And not just even our fields, just every Cancerian, everything. Hey, crab, what's it like for you in the world?
Yeah.
What the fuck is going on here?
And of course, it's funny because there are sirens in the background, so I feel like, ooh, it's already coming to the rescue. And we're going to talk about how Cancer feels like it has to take care of everything. But none of us can really know any individual sign or actually anything individually, because we are multiplicities. So even though I have 4 planets in Cancer and they're all down at the bottom of the chart, so I feel like, ooh, I got a lot of it, I have all these other energies coming through. So even when I think I'm talking to you about Cancer, am I really? Because what other parts are coming up and coming through? And we really want to leave room to acknowledge that we are never going to be able to accurately define one domain of consciousness, I don't think. And I don't think that's even what we want to do. We want to have space for sort of how it all comes together. So some of the things we might say, that drive you crazy about what people say about Cancer, is that even really Cancer? And or is it combinations of other things with Cancer? And so there's so far we could go with that.
Yeah, so for example, I think that there's a lot of attachment to zodiac signs and a lot of fun with it right now. I'm glad it's being popularized, because astrology really is a useful tool for life navigation. It does provide genuine clarifying answers on what to do here and with yourself at what time. And at the same time, in terms of zodiac descriptions, they're so modern, and I don't think a lot of people commonly acknowledge or recognize that. If you read texts that are thousands of years old or hundreds of years old, the way that Scorpios were clowned back in the day, the thief, who eats your buttocks with its gangrenous toe and like it will kill you. You know, it's like, oh my God, like that was your perception of Scorpio or your perception of Cancer like 400 or 500 years ago. And really modern zodiac interpretations are very 20th century, right? Like with the Theosophists, Alan Leo's crew, who really also gave us another modern interpretation that everybody uses, the sun, moon, ascendant approach to chart reading. Like that was like 1890s, early 1900s, right? Then we had, you know, one of my favorites who many of us grew up on, Linda Goodman, in the 1970s. And really, you know, her sun signs and love signs books really did color a lot of how we interpret signs. And then there's like so much other stuff going on, but generally like the signs are both like intangible and tangible. Like Tara was mentioning earlier, it's just like a little bit of everything. And part of, I think, like a Cancerian strength to bust a lot of myths about our weakness as Cancers is the ability to be with everything. The expanse of emotion, the range of the unknown.
Well, and I would say that I always think of Cancer as the most human sign. And maybe that's in part because it's ruled by the moon, and the moon has to do with everyday people and emotions and feelings and rhythms and routines and kind of all that everyday stuff. But I say this in part too because Cancer is very sensitive to all vulnerable states, especially, babies, right? We know that's associated with Cancer, the child, right? Not the parent and the child actually is both associated. And then all the different phases we go through, and then older age. And so there's something about Cancer's ability to hold space for just human life to happen, all the cycles. And think about the moon, right? All the faces, all the sides, the whole entire cycle, everything from birth to death, which is all one big cycle as well. I feel like Cancer holds a lot of that in itself. And it holds so much memory, at least that to me as an archetype, right? It is rooted in these collective memories, which is why sometimes for me, Cancer is less about words and more about archetypes and images and symbols that come through that actually kind of, that we all hold some likeness together. So, I think there is a part of Cancer that can really bring us together. But on the flip side, when it becomes too exclusive and this is mine or this is my family or this is my country or whatever it is, it can be the opposite as well. But that's true for everything, right? Because everything has its multiple expressions. But belonging is a word we use a lot, right, with Cancer. That ability to belong to yourself first, I would say. And I think that's for, at least I can speak for myself and many of my clients and students with strong Cancer placements, is what does it mean to come back to home in yourself? How do you find that place? And once you have that sense of belonging, then extending that, outward, and then being safe to belong and still disagree, being safe to belong and still say, I don't like what you're doing, right? Or I don't like what's happening, because oftentimes we sacrifice our true feelings or needs to stay connected. And so this is another, I feel like another Cancer lesson is what does belonging really mean?
Yeah, it's interesting because if you think about Cancer, there's a lot of myths about like the weakness of Cancer, how sappy and cryy we are in the corner and all that stuff. But if you think about Cancer and like the belonging energy about it, Cancer is straight up gangster, like literal gang.
No, for sure.
Kara's part of my straight up gang. Yeah. Like we would both kill for each other. Yeah. I'm like so serious. Yeah. Like it's not even a joke. So when we're talking about that clannishness, like part of gangster, which should probably be an abbreviation for Cancer or a nickname.
And so this leads me to where I think it is the fiercest sign in the zodiac. You mess with a Cancer's loved one with anybody or anything, an animal, person, any that's vulnerable, you mess with any of that, you are going to be taken on like you will not believe.
Yeah, I'm scared of you, Tara. And that's been from like
Stop.
day one.
I think you're more scary, but anyway,
No, but for real, because I can feel the fierceness. Tara and I have been working together for many years, and this goes for really every Cancer that I know that is a Cancer, like, you know, my good friend Emma, for example. The litany of Cancers in my life, I would never fuck with them. Period, because I already know what's coming. And let's think about this like kind of realistically too, right? Let's think about a Cancerian nation called the United States of America. Let's just look at a very clear thing. Like America's militarism, the ferocity behind that is, you know, the potential for like violence with Cancers is real. So to kind of relegate us, you know, this myth of Cancerian energy as like this sappy, weepy thing we're gonna cry in the corner is absolutely untrue. It's an untruth. It's a fabrication. It's not real.
Yep. I will say, emotional sensitivity, heightened intuition, strong psychic sense, all day long. Lots of moods. I will say for myself, oftentimes very irritable, right? That doesn't take much, right? And all of a sudden, I was fine, now I'm not fine. In fact, one of the things I'm embracing, for so much of my life, I've always been a person who just says, I'm okay, I'm fine. And just recently, I had a kind of a big triggering moment in myself, and it felt so good to just actually say out loud, I'm not okay, right? I'm not okay. Just embracing that. So what's interesting is that sense, I'm just saying that sense of crying in the corner. I am comfortable crying, but you know what? I can cry and carry on like nobody's business, right? I could be crying right now and continue this conversation. We, and I say we, not everyone, but lots of people, at least in where we live here in our society or our culture, we look at crying as a weakness, just crying itself. But that's a made-up thing. Whoever said that, that's a total subjective assessment.
And what's wrong with crying? To me, it's an expression of strength because it's authenticity, which I think is another Cancerian strength. There's nothing wrong with crying. It's the ability to be with every iteration of emotional expression is a strength, period. So why are emotions relegated to weakness? I think that this goes with a lot of water elements and water signs and or, you know, water rulerships in astrology. Weakness. Actually, let's think about modalities. Let's think about the element water. You can get your ass drowned right quick. Water has shaped mountains through, you know, chiseling, through rivers, through whatever for millions of years.
Icicles can come down and literally impale you.
Scorpios would love that.
And I always think of Cancer as the river, right?
Yeah, me too.
Because it's cardinal water. A strong river, it will wash you right away. Wash away an entire town. And water is an element. It may take its time, but it's going to get where it's going. It will over time erode. It will make a way. There's something, you know, there, and all we have to do is look at the ocean. If anyone thinks the ocean is not strong, that in itself would be a whole separate conversation. So yes.
Yeah. 1,000,000%. And you know, it's a trip too, because, you know, I am so curious how astrology lives for people, because I've got 3 Cancerian placements. I'm a Sun, Mercury, and Venus in Cancer. And once again, like with this zodiac stuff, to me, it is intangible tangibles. Like so when you're talking about rivers, I've literally almost died in a river twice by being caught up in rapids in my lifetime. So it's just so weird. What is actual like zodiac signs? We think about it a lot in terms of like interpersonal things or psychological or emotional attributes. But in my humble opinion, not just the zodiac signs, but astrology in general creates known tangible reality.
And words that then forever get attached to it that we can never have room to breathe around. So one of my big things right now is, and I've been doing a lot of teaching with the basic archetypes, and I'm realizing that a lot of the words we use don't fit very well anymore. And the words are associated to things that have connotations that don't help us really understand the energy. So, you know, I'm playing around with things like how can we use more images versus words, and how is there room to sort of redefine things. I mean, we already know when it comes to, you know, moving beyond binaries, that's an issue, but there's way more than, you know, than that's in there. And that's one of the things right now, honestly, like I am so open to anyone's ideas around how can you learn more and explore more with astrology without lists of keywords. Like, what does that look like? What can that look like? How do you have more of a feeling of something? And again, to our point, it's never going to be exact because you can't get an exact anything. Which in some ways it makes me almost just want to laugh. Like, it's funny that we think, well, here's the list of things, and that's not Cancer. That's really more Leo. No, that's really a Virgo thing. Okay. I don't know. Don't know.
Well, I don't know either. But then as a professional, you know, there is the very real experience that I've had is like, okay, I don't know how the fuck astrology really functions with all this stuff, but then an analysis gleans insanely accurate information. Yes. I don't know these people. The clients are strangers. And yet post-analysis, I mean, the level of confirmation and just like actual truth that is gleaned through this divination and this divinatory apparatus is completely unreal. But I think, you know, to your point, Tara, that's why it's important not to be zodiac centric in my opinion, when it comes to analysis, right? Like, what are the planets doing? Take each chart case by case, which speaks to another Cancerian myth, which is our rigidity, the fixedness of Cancer. Like, we're stuck on something. In my opinion, Cancerian energy is more mutable than mutables. It's the most mutable sign that you can possibly imagine.
Here's what I would say to back that up. The moon, right, rules Cancer. And the moon, I always think of it as our okay meter, meaning, am I okay now? Am I okay now? Because it's the part of us that is reacting in every moment to what's going around us. And there is no way that there cannot be an adaptability to that. And if any of you that have strong Cancer, you know how fast your feelings change, right? I mean, split second. But this idea of also the nervous system is linked in, right? So Cancer, we know, has to do with the breast and the belly, but also very linked with the nervous system. To me, the moon and Mercury, I would say Uranus to some extent too, but the moon and Mercury very linked into the nervous system. What is the nervous system doing all the time? It's taking all the input and it's figuring out and sending messages and connections of what we need to do and what needs to happen, right? Whether it's the sympathetic or parasympathetic, all those things have to do with moon that link into Cancer. So all of that is on the change. Can Cancer be tenacious? Absolutely. Get something in those little pinchers. And yeah, I'm not saying like, I'm not saying that that's not there. But overall, my experience of myself and the people around me that have strong Cancer energy is there is an ability to flow and to shift. It might take some coaxing. Cancer usually needs to feel safe first. So if there's a extreme vulnerability or not feeling emotionally safe or not, whatever that is there, it may not happen right away. But when that is there, there's a huge reservoir of resilience that's able to move and to shift. And to use the cardinal energy to move on forward into the next thing. So I don't think the stuck, I think, is kind of circumstantial. I don't think it's the overall nature of the energy. Mm-hmm. It wants to move, but there is a lot of insecurity sometimes, or safety issues, whether it's physical or emotional, with Cancer that then can kind of dam up that flow. But that doesn't mean that's the nature. You know?
Totally. And also, I think, to your point, just like from an analytical perspective, like, let's think about how swiftly the moon is the fastest moving planet.
Yes.
Period. End of story. Yep. It's faster than Mercury. It's the fastest planet. It's the only planet that does a full revolution through every single sign of the zodiac every month. Mm-hmm. And it like regulates things, right? Like it regulates, literally plant life, tides, just what have you.
And safety, meaning how fast our nervous systems do whatever they need to do to make us safe. I had a teacher one time say that level of safety in us is faster than the speed of light or the speed of sound. That's how fast something happens inside to try to regulate, and that's very interconnected with the moon you just described. Yeah. There's almost like a direct umbilical cord from Cancer to source in the same way that, you know, mother to baby has that.
Yeah, and I was just thinking about that too. Like the societal tropes that are thrown onto zodiac signs, like the textbooks listings, the word vocabulary list that a lot of people blithely, just undertake. Like Cancer, blah, 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 like homely, blah, whatever. Like... You know,
homely meaning at home or homely meaning like not attractive?
Both. Like frumpy and shit. Like, fuck off. Are you kidding me? Like opposite, like, you know. But at home, like I can vibe with that. I like being at home.
I'm laughing about the multiple meanings of homely now for a long time. I mean, and clearly we like being at home, like we're literally in my home.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, I love that shit. That's very true. You know, I like being at home under blankets. I like soft, fuzzy things. Yeah. You know, like period in the story. I like cuddles. I like hugs. Yeah. And I like hugging Cancerians the most. I'm not even going to lie. Best ever hugs, period. That's a myth that we don't need to bust today.
Yeah. Because it's a full-on soulful heart hug. Like, it's not just your physical body, you know. Yeah, it's a happy feeling. I was going to say, though, but home, home is different for different people. Some people feel more at home actually traveling. Like so we just have to be careful that, you know, our brains automatically take, again, a word and then we see what it means to us. But if you think about what that means to other people, right, where we find belonging, right, or where we find... Cancer also likes a certain amount of like peacefulness, right? I know we give that to Taurus a lot, but honestly, Cancer, like it needs some calm and quiet. It needs that space, but how we find that can be totally different. I mean, some people get more calm when they're kind of jazzed up. Other people get more calm when they're, you know, lying down, taking a rest. So this is why I think the ideas of what does home mean, you got to get beyond just the idea of I'm in my house, right? Where I live. My partner Darren and I, we've said for years now in our relationship that when we're together, it's a heart home, right? So no matter where we are, and he has Cancer rising and I'm Cancer sun, so it's very fitting. It's very fitting for us. But that to me added a new dimension to home, like really feeling that with a person, meaning no matter where we are or what's happening, we can even articulate it and say, oh, don't forget, like maybe it's a distressing situation. Don't forget, remember, we're home. And Cancer can do that on small scale and grand scale, which is why sometimes you'll see, you know, people really out there helping and healing and helping people feel that they are cared for and that they belong, whether or not they have anything to do with your biological family. Mm-hmm. Cancer has so much to do with the inner world. I don't know how you feel. There's some days I go through the day, I'm like, if anybody knew everything that went on inside of me today, it was like, I mean, whole other universes and stories and things happening. There's like, I could be sitting in a chair all day, but I'd be so active on the inside. imagination, all these things going on. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that Cancer really does provide this treasure trove. It really is like tapping into infinity, right?
Yeah.
Like this pool of everything that has come before you. It's like the timeline of everything, really. It's past, present, future, all of the undulations of all of it. And really, I think it's inexpressible. I think it's inexpressible in anything, and the only form that it's expressible in is the emotional.
You gotta feel it.
That's because that's the that infinite malleability, and then that's where I think we get kind of stuck on the intuition word when we attach it to Cancerian tropes and archetypes and all that kind of stuff, and we socialize zodiac signs too much without really getting into the energy. And I think really what that energy is that instinctual connection to the infinite that stores all of it, you know what I mean?
So I think there's so much mystery with the moon and with Cancer, and the embracing of mystery, right? And feeling connected to that mystery. Mm-hmm. I know we say that for Pisces a lot, and I'm not taking that away from Pisces. It's there too. But Cancer, there is it's funny, imagination's a word that always gets used for Pisces too. And in my experience, Cancer is oftentimes equally imaginative in digging into all those little nooks and crannies and spaces.
Mm-hmm. Well, because that's the strength of Cancer and just dealing with everybody's bullshit, which I think is probably a common pragmatic diurnal experience for many of us as Cancers or Cancer placements, is somehow people assume that we're just gonna carry their burden or the burden. Just get people just assume that, we're just gonna take it on or whatever. I feel like that, case in point.
Yeah, and then oftentimes we do. So that's so it's on us. I'm just saying it's on. You and I have having lots of personal conversations lately around what this means for both of us. So it's very on point right now. Mm-hmm. And so this is not in any way a saying that it's on someone else. It's that the natural tendency in Cancer is to take care of things and to keep things safe and to keep things together, right? And to bring people in. And then to somehow maintain that emotional closeness. And that is, all those things sometimes become very difficult in situations where, sometimes you really need to say no to something. It's not the best thing for you to be doing. But that fear of losing the emotional connection.
And the safety and the security.
Is huge.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I think for Cancer, there is, when I say a tendency to want to stay home, don't just envision your house you live in. Whatever is home base for you. It might be your job. It might be your relationship. The tendency to want to just stay in that little space. But what do crabs do, ones that have shells? Especially like hermit crabs, right? They outgrow their shells. They need to get bigger shells. And so that's part of the process too. But I know we can be very likely, at least me, I can say, would speak for myself, to want to kind of just go in this little space and not come out. And sometimes that equates to continuing to do things and carry out patterns and make things happen because we think we do need to do them just to maintain. And it's interesting for a cardinal, this is an interesting, well, I will say for a cardinal sign, this is where I think there can be some getting stuck. Right? But it makes sense because what is one of the, what does, we can even back up and say, what does Cancer actually want? We can say this of all the signs, right? What is it actually wanting? And that will give you information about why it's doing what it's doing. That's why I always say to myself and to people, if someone's doing something and it annoys you, try to figure out why, right? Not why is it annoying, but why are they doing it? Because even when I do the most annoying things, there is a good reason, even if I'm not conscious of it.
And that goes back to the intangible, tangible,
totally.
Nature of kind of zodiac signs and placements, etc. There are lots of things that are happening around it that are totally unconscious. So if we're talking about the cardinal, I see Cancer natural house type of thing. it like tangibly and intangibly, the energetic function of it, at least from a harmonic astrology point of view, is to create safety and create security, some type of nesting, some type of, whatever. And that can just go in so many different directions. And it could create a sense of stuckness, and it could also create what it's supposed to do, which is like a sense of safety in this giant universe of all this crazy shit going on. Like, there is something like really amazing about the idea of being safe somewhere in this infinite universe with all these giant fucking gas balls and planets moving around.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, that we can actually find something that feels like home here in this universe.
What would you say, or what are some of the things when you think of Cancer that you most like to celebrate with that energy?
Well, you're a good example. I love my family and friends, the adopted family, soul family, and real family too. But all the family, you know what I mean? Like, for real, like, I have some good ass fucking friends and loved ones. The reliability and just kind of like so yes, I celebrate, that level of intimacy, and there's so much other stuff though. What would you think?
One big thing for me is I love most of the time I love it when someone who loves me and I love them can feel something about me without me having to tell them. I love to feel felt in that way and to not have to say it. Like, it could be a weird moment, whatever, and the person comes over and they can be like, I know you're upset. And I might not even be looking like it. And I know you need whatever. And it happens, and I'm like, man, that's such good, fucking good Cancer stuff right there. Just knowing what's going on and knowing what's needed. And then doing what's needed. Yeah, I love that.
Me too. That like innate intelligence. I totally celebrate that about, Cancer and Cancer placements too. And that shit is underrated again. Why is it underrated to have that unspeakable connection, that innate truth? Why are emotions turbulent when it's like empathic and you can do all this cool ass shit and connect, I think, we're limiting ourselves in a lot of ways with, all this like societal bullshit that we attach to this. What is the fucking energy we're dealing with? You know what I mean? Like, and I think that is a Cancerian mission that I wholeheartedly embrace and celebrate.
And another favorite thing of mine is laughing and crying at the same time. And Cancers really do that well. Like, it does not have to be limited to one thing. Like, you're super crying and upset, and then all of a sudden you're laughing, and then all of a sudden something else is, like, I just love it. It's almost like you don't know what's happening, but there's, like, a release that happens with that, so it's just coming out. Yeah. I honestly just love to feel things. Like, I really love to... I would say all day long, like, I will not appreciate a movie or something if it does not hook me in the feels. Like, I just won't... I don't care how visually wonderful it is or whatever. I gotta get into that. And so and I feel like, so some of, I pay attention sometimes, who's putting things together. And the Cancers oftentimes, they know how to do it, man. Maybe a little soap opera-y, but it will hook you right in there and you will feel it.
Yeah, I like feeling things too.
Yeah, it feels good to feel. If I'm not feeling, it actually causes a little fear in me. Like, if I don't feel, because feeling is kind of so much of my, kind of how I know whether I'm in or out of something. Is feeling it. And so if another person is hard to feel, actually this is another, I think I'm celebrating Cancer. I liked being able to feel someone. Sometimes when I have clients that are kind of closed off that way, it's very difficult for me. Actually, other people in my life too, but I'm thinking about clients. And sometimes I would step away and be like, why was that harder? And then I realized it's because they wouldn't let me feel them. And so I think it's such an honor and a privilege when people let you into the feeling space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And how we find our ways in there any fucking way.
Yeah. never straightforward, but the crab.
Yeah, chiseling that rock, that river shit. Like, we'll find a way into the crevice, motherfucker. Beware.
So good. Oh, let's talk about our new offering.
Yeah, so in celebration of the Crab House, all things moon oriented, and this debut of this special space for Cancerian expressions, we are offering a moonscape report called the Lunation Staycation Delineation. I'm going to be analyzing your moon with harmonic astrology and tarot with
evolutionary.
I'm going to be going into the basics harmonics, the natal direct midpoint structures.
So I'll be talking about the evolutionary approach to the moon, also looking at the south and the north node of the moon, and moon phases, birth moon phase, some different lunation things. And then we're going to be working together to come up with some special little supportive, inspiring things just around your own personal moon placement. So we've been very excited about this.
And this is something that can and will be hopefully utilized for a lifetime.
What we're wanting, really, well, I should speak for myself. I think we're wanting just to bring more soulfulness into life. That's lunation staycation, right? Getting back into that place so that you can kind of operate with all your, I say, glow beams. That's how it feels to me. All your glow beams.
Yeah, totally glow beam. And it's like, to Tara's point, it's pragmatic nurturance. This is what to do, like, in your daily life. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to do that. These are limited time reports. They're only going to be offered for a month. They may not be offered again or very infrequently.
We don't know. Yeah.
We don't even know.
just in case you were thinking, it's not computer generated. This is us spending several hours really getting into your moonscape. Yeah.
This is personalized, handwritten delineation from the both of us, two hearts, minds, and souls. With two entirely different practices and approaches to astrology, hybridizing and flowing into one for you. So, yeah. Yay! I mean, like, I'm so super stoked. Thank you so much for checking it out.
If you have Cancer topics of any kind or questions, we are delighted to receive that feedback. You can direct message us about that because we will be back here to talk more about Cancer stuff and the moon.
Yeah, please. I mean, once again, like, that's what we're here for. We want to hear about your Cancerian realities. Did anything stick out for you? Do you have any other observations or experiences that you would like to share with our Cancer collective?
Yeah, so if we all bring our Cancer stuff, then we're going to get a bigger container of understanding and feeling how it looks. So, yeah, excited to hear from you.
Yes, absolute ditto. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Crab House. Looking forward to pincering with you at another date. Bye.
Bye.